Hello and welcome to iGlobal, the great big Indian money show. And today we're going to be talking about social media and advertising. And I'm Tony Patty, your host for today. Joining me today on the program are four very astute people who know the business very well indeed. But first of all, social media for growing your business is what we're going to be talking about. Now, there are so many mediums available to us to advertise our products and services, and it's very easy to waste money on advertising when you don't get a good return on investment. What works for one may not work for others. So this masterclass today will cover some practical tips when considering online advertising, building your business, masterclass profile, and ensuring you get the best return on your investment. So some of the focal points that we're going to be looking at today with our experts are these. A lot of businesses try to do social media themselves and fail. Why is that? What should businesses consider before engaging in social media? And what kind of budget and length of engagement should be considered before you see the results? Is there a method to selecting social media platforms depending on the type of product or service that you have? Now, joining us today are our team and panel of experts, and they are Nicola Ryle, who's the director. We have Nicola Ryle, who's the director at Ryle Marketing. We have Ravi Patel, who's the company director at Vital Concept Limited. Manisha Shah, who's the social media and content strategy at Manisha Coaching Limited. And Gurjinder Bogle, who is the director at Black Mamba Marketing and Events. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Tony.
Hi.
Nicola, if I could start with you, first of all, you are the director at Ryle Marketing. Now, the whole business of advertising and the whole maze of confusion that surrounds us in advertising is quite a big one. Tell us from what your experience holds and the background that you have, where you've seen things go wrong when it comes to B2B advertising and where we can actually do things a little bit better.
I would say thank you very much for having me here today, Tony. Yes, the biggest mistakes which people make, I think, initially is not thinking through what they're trying to achieve and who they're trying to speak to. So having a clear plan of what you're wanting to do with social media and who you're trying to reach is really critical, because that is going to drive which platforms you're looking at, and also how you go about the language that you're going to use, and whether or not advertising is the right route, or whether or not just straightforward posting is the right route to go. So I would say it's all in the planning and getting some expert assistance, or do some really thorough research to find out which platforms you should be on and how you should be interacting with it and how you should be speaking to your target audience. Finally, one quick point is to look at return on investment. Work out what success looks like before you start.
Ravi Patel, you are the company director at Vital Concept Limited, established 15 years ago as a branding agency, but quickly moved to a one-stop brand company, taking care of clients' graphic design, branding, websites, printing, signage, and digital marketing. And the reason why I mention that is that doing the actual advert, appealing to the right audience, putting it on the right platform is, of course, very important, isn't it, Ravi?
100%. And that's the reason we kind of go cross boundaries in terms of different types of advertising medium. It's important your potential customers see and hear about you in multiple places, whether it be online, through social media, through print, through billboard, whatever type of advertising you decide to go for. Like Nicola said, your end goal is important to recognize at the very start of your marketing campaign. What's going to be your conversion, how you track that, how you monitor that, and what you class as a conversion.
Manisha Shah, you're the social media and content strategy at Manisha Coaching Limited, helping entrepreneurs, ambitious entrepreneurs, may I say, create compelling content for their brands so they can stand out, boost their visibility, and also have the confidence to start to generate leads and sales by building a loyal, engaged audience. How would you go about doing that, Manisha?
So with small businesses, I think that, the key's in the name, social, right? It's social media. And I think that a lot of small businesses, they look at social media as sort of like a tick box exercise, something that they need to do, something that's, has pretty pictures and will look like a nice storefront. But social media, to me anyway, is about engagement. It's about creating content that is going to help people, is going to help them make informed buying decisions with you. So it's going to educate them as well. And it's about creating a community of people that are loyal and engaged to you, that are going to then, turn into customers and leads, and not just followers, not just likes, as we've mentioned, likes don't pay the bills, as you would say. So I really think that it's about creating a community around your brand as well. I come at it from a point of view of, I'm also I'm a content creator. I create content on social media. I have multiple social media platforms. And I also think that it's also about but your goals. What do you want to achieve from social media, and working backwards from that, as opposed to, oh gosh, I need to be on social media, I need to be on Instagram, I need to be on LinkedIn, and I need to be on all of them. It's about choosing the one. Where is your client? Where are they scrolling? It could be on Instagram, it could be on Facebook, it could be on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be on all of them.
Gurjinder Bogle, you're the director at Black Mamba Marketing and Events. And as a marketing consultant and founder of Black Mamba Marketing and Events, you support fierce female business owners with their go-to marketing strategies and connecting them with their ideal clients. And of course, we've been through a very serious time of COVID, still going through it, haven't recovered from it yet. Have you helped businesses to diversify and even turn expensive hobbies into perhaps fully fledged businesses? What's the strategy that you've used, Gurjinder?
So it's mainly around, what is it that your customer really wants from you at this moment in time? So a perfect example being, I've got a lot of beauty businesses that came to me because they had to completely shut down, and they were like, I can't do any beauty treatments on customers, so I'm not making any money. It's like, okay, you can't do any beauty treatments, but what do customers want right now? Do they want to do their own beauty regimes at home? And they were like, yes, they do. So then they started to teach their customers how to do their own beauty regimes at home. So they were still engaging. So exactly what Manisha said, they were creating content that was relevant to their audience at that time. And that meant that their business didn't die a horrible death, that they were still able to stay in business. And a lot of them are really looking forward to a massive impact, a massive reopening in April, because they've gained even more following during lockdown. They've had more business in lockdown because they've actually given the customer what they want. And Manisha is probably the perfect example of this. Even though she is makeup and that's what everyone knows her for, during lockdown she actually focused a lot on skincare. Which is what people wanted during lockdown, because we couldn't wear makeup. We had nowhere to go. So, the makeup was lovely, but actually it was the skincare that made us take action. And that's what you want your customers to do. You want them to take action based on something that they've seen of yours. So really looking at the times that you're in and creating relevant content for your audience at that time.
From everything that you've all told me, it seems that it's all about creating a niche for the businesses, which is very significant. And that's the biggest message that's come across in the last few minutes. I'm going to throw this out to all four of you, and feel free to interject and pick up on this, any one of you. A lot of businesses actually try to do social media themselves and they fail. Why is that?
Because they're not the experts. They're not the expert in social media. If you're a beauty brand, you're a beauty expert. You're not a social media expert. I'm a marketing consultant. I'm not a social expert either. So I have teams of social experts that work with me as well on clients, because I know about 50% of the information. But why would you want 50% when I can give you somebody that can give you 100%?
Nicola,
Tony, what I was going to say here was that the biggest mistake that individual business owners make is that they decide what they want to tell customer, rather than understanding two things. One is they need to understand what the customer wants to know, and that's what they should be supplying. And it's all about a dialogue. It's all about a communication. It's not advertising. Social media is not advertising. It's a dialogue. It's creating rapport between yourself and your prospect or your customer. So it's very important not to be ramming down their throats the information that you want to supply. It's giving them something worth. So to reiterate what's been said before, it's all about dialogue.
Really? Also the data, understanding the data and the insights. So a lot of the businesses will understand their balance sheets, their data, their customer flow, but they won't understand what their social media insights are about, what the interaction is, what that means, who's interacting with them, are they the right people? So, lots of people will go, because social media marketing is quite inexpensive. If you do it yourself, you'll throw 10, 20, 30, 50 pounds into it, and you'll look at how many people have come and seen your post. But does that turn into revenue? Does that turn into customers? Does that turn into following? Those insights are not analyzed. And that's what social media agencies do. They analyze data, they make judgments and decisions on tweaking and adjusting those campaigns based on data that's received, where somebody doing it themselves won't have the time to analyze the data or won't necessarily understand the data.
Manisha, there's nobody else better than yourself placed at this moment in time when you're helping entrepreneurs create compelling content from their brand and giving themselves visibility through this entire process that we've been discussing here today. What's your take on this?
I'm going to reiterate what I said before. I think it's a lot of it's to do with people not really understanding what they are trying to achieve from social media in the first place. They just think they need to do it, and they don't sit down and think, okay, what are the goals that I need to achieve if I'm going to be on a social media? Do I want to create more brand awareness? Do I want to make more sales? Is it because I want to create rapport with my clients or future clients? Those are the things. Working backwards from those really, really helps, because then you can think about, okay, so what do I need to put out there in terms for me to be able to do those things? And then it's, again, it's a tick box exercise. People think that, oh, I just need to be on there. I'm just going to throw up some pretty pictures and hope for the best. And that doesn't really work anymore with social media. It's so saturated now. We need to be doing more, thinking about what it is that our clients want to see at the right time, as Gurjinder mentioned, is really, really important. Taking in our surroundings and thinking about the current climate, and developing relationships with people over social media, as opposed to just thinking it's not an advertising platform. It's not to sell, it's to be social on.
Gurjinder, the situation of being on social media is quite a complicated one for many, because let's face it, a lot of people are tech shy. A lot of people don't even know how to use the computer, yet they're running very successful businesses. What advice would you give them?
I would honestly say plan out what you want to do and just don't follow the latest trends. So perfect example being Clubhouse. I know so many businesses that are spending almost 12 hours a day in Clubhouse because they believe they're going to be a millionaire by the end of March if they spend 12 hours a day on Clubhouse. And that is not the case. If you don't have a clear strategy on what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to achieve it by using these social media platforms, you can just be wasting a hell of a lot of your time doing the activity when actually your competitors are probably doing the planning and the strategy and having a bit more of a cohesive effort in making money. So really plan out exactly what you want to do. And, as a small business owner, all the money is yours. You're not working for a corporate and spending their budget. It's your own money. So you really want to think about whether you want to pay your electricity bill or whether you want to spend thousands and thousands of pounds on social media. You've got no idea about what you're doing. So really
Nicola,
think about it.
No, I understand. Nicola, back to you. What should businesses then consider before engaging in social media? What is your opinion on that?
Well, the very first thing you need to think about is your target audience and where do they hang out. So, if you're trying to reach business people, Facebook is probably not the right place. So it depends on who you're trying to reach. So being very clear who your target audience is, what their kind of demographics are, and where they hang out and what language they speak, because each platform has a tone of language as well. So it's both of those things need to be taken together. Once you've decided who your target audience is, start with just one social media platform. Get that under your belt, understand how that works. Start developing your community there before adding a second one. I think one of the mistakes that a lot of novices in social media do is they try to do all platforms at the same time, and they use the same post on all of the different platforms, and that just won't work. You know, the language which is used on Twitter is completely different from Insta, completely different from LinkedIn. So it's very much thinking about that. And then once you've decided which platform you're going onto, live and breathe it, understand what makes it work, understand what the community is like on there, and what's useful to be putting out there, because being useful is the first step to engagement.
So how do people go about knowing which platform and how to go about what you've just told us? Because to a novice, say, well, okay, that's the platform I want to be on. That's the language I want to advertise my product on. But how do I go about finding out where to go and what to do? Who's going to show me?
Well, if you started off with there's no budget and you don't ask a professional, which is the quickest and easiest way of doing it, to be honest. And usually what I say to people is get an expert at least to start with to get you going. Even if you haven't got a lot of budget, it's best to spend a little bit on getting the strategy right first before deciding to do it yourself. But there is quite a lot of information out there on the internet, research which is published, which will give you a bit of an inkling. So if you haven't a clue where to start with the demographics of the different platforms. That information is in the public domain. See how that matches up with your target audience. So that's the very starting point.
And I just want to probably add to Nicholas as well, sorry if you don't mind. I was just going to say that once you're started, so say once you're on Instagram, just ask your audience what they want to see from you. Why are they following you? Is it the recipes you share? Is it your marketing tips they want to know about? Is it how to be a good mum that they want to know? Just ask the audience what they want to know as you go along. So, over the year, your content might change, and every couple of months, every few weeks, just ask your audience, put up a poll, let them tell you what they want to know from you.
That works really well in the consumer market, but probably holds less true in the business market. So depending again on who you're dealing with as to how to work out what to put out there. One of my top tips is to look at your competitors, and if they're being very successful on social media in the business to business market, have a look at what they're posting. In the consumer market, interacting positively with your consumers is the very best way of going about it. Polling is brilliant. Thank you, Gurinder. That was really useful.
Gajinda, it's okay.
Gajinda, sorry.
Gajinda.
Gajinda. My apologies.
That's all right.
Ravi, considerations for businesses before engaging in social media, being on the right platform, saying and doing the right thing. From your experience in the business that you run, what have been your observations in this particular field?
Is choosing the right platform for the right audience. That's very key. We're predominantly a business to business business, so we find that even though we use cross social media platforms, where we gain most of our success is via LinkedIn, because we're connecting with buyers, procurement teams, marketing executives. So depending on which sector you're in, choosing the right platform for you and then connecting in the right way. Everyone's touched upon creating relevant content. Relevant content is key, because you can't just be on social media and post stuff and hope that people are going to turn into orders. It doesn't happen. You have to tell them what you do, fill the story. As Manish said, you're creating content, you're telling them a story, you're being social, to tell them your story, get them to buy into it, and then hopefully that connection turns into some new business for you.
If you have just joined us, welcome to iGlobal. This is the Great Big Indian Money Show, and I'm joined by four very astute professionals today in our very special session, which is all about social media for growing your business. And I'm talking to Nicola Rydell, who's the director at Ryle Marketing. We're talking to Ravi Patel, who's the company director at Vital Concept Limited, Manisha Shah, who's the social media and content strategy at Manisha Coaching Limited, and Gurjinder Bogle, who's the director at Black Mamba Marketing and Events. When it comes to the amount of budget and the length of engagement that we should be considering before we see results, how do we go about measuring that particular success? I'm going to throw this out to any one of you at this moment in time. When it comes to budget and length of engagement, what should be considered before we see any results?
I think budget's a difficult one. It's always going to be based upon your strategy, your market, your campaign, how long you run it, who your audience is, who you're targeting, how long you want to run it for. So there's many factors that will determine the budget. But the way we would work with a customer is say, what are you comfortable spending, who your target market is, what you want to achieve, what's the end goal, and then we'll say, right, it's sufficient, or we think it needs to be here, based on the research and analysis that we do on insights and tools that we have to see how other campaigns similar may have run.
Ravi, is this the same as search engine optimization? I had this burning question, which I had to throw you away. Is what we've been discussing here today, is that what this is, search engine optimization?
No, I think it would be social media marketing. I think we probably have more comparison, or paid advertising, social media, more comparison to pay-per-click advertising rather than the search engine organic optimization.
Gurjinder, when it comes to budgets and lengths of engagement, from your experience, what have you seen and considered and perhaps even promised results for clients?
So yeah, a lot of clients that come to me don't have a budget strategy. So they literally spend, oh, here's a lovely idea, let's spend this money here. Here's a great idea, let's spend this money here. And by the time they get to the end of the year, they find they probably spent more money on marketing than they're actually made in their business. So it's really, really important to have a clear budget set out. And if you've got a target of, say, 100K that you want to achieve as your revenue this year, then I'd always say a healthy budget amount is 10% of that should be spent on your marketing activity. So then if you've got a figure of, say, £10,000 that you want to spend on marketing, you want to then allocate those amounts to various activities. So not just social media. Do not, if COVID has taught us anything, it's do not have all your eggs in one basket. So do not focus all your activity just on social media. You have to have a multi-channel marketing campaign, and social media is maybe a big part of it, but not the only part. So really plan and allocate where you spend that budget and how much of it you spend. And if you have a budget, if you've had budgets in the past, you've allocated spends, maybe look at doing 5% more than what you've done last year, 10% more than what you've done last year, to help you see an increase in kind of activity and growth. So if you really want that kind of growth mindset or that growth in your business, you really need to grow that budget as well in line with that kind of the growth figures that you've set yourself.
Nicola.
Yes, I would say there's a couple of things. With allocating a budget, I always start with a plan, obviously, which everybody is saying is really, really important, and start small and build it up as you get more experience with it, and you're starting to see what kinds of returns you're getting. And this is an area where you can test and measure, so you can try one thing and see whether it works, but don't go in all guns blazing. Take it one step at a time. And as I said earlier, try one platform at a time, get to understand that before moving on to the next, because although there are similarities, they are quite different. And also to say that depending on what your objectives are and who you're trying to speak, is to how long your campaign should be lasting. Generally speaking, in the business to business world, we'll be looking at least 12 to 18 months, because it slowly starts off and then it speeds up over time as you build traction, as you get more followers and more interaction with your follower base. So it does depend very much on what you're trying to achieve as to how much effort you put into it, how much budget you put into it, and how long to give it to work.
Manisha, your company is particularly prominent in creating visibility and confidence in clients to generate leads and sales by building an engaged audience. Given the fact that we just discussed budgets and where should people go and how much money they should spend, what has been your experience and observations in this particular field in terms of budgets?
So I teach, my specialism in social media is Instagram, and I teach people how to use Instagram in the right way to get leads and visibility in their business. And, you know, as Gurjinder mentioned, social media is one part of your overall strategy, of your marketing strategy. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, my Instagram got deactivated. So I know I know exactly how it feels to have a large part of my business just shut down completely. So Instagram is great. The good thing about Instagram is that it's free, right? Social media is free. If you do want to do it yourself, then the biggest thing that you're going to spend time on is your time. You're consistently spending time on social media, showing up. You know, a lot of my clients are in the beauty industry as well. So I tend to tell people, you know, you need to show up on a consistent basis. And to me, it's a time effort. Like over the years, I've spent considerable amount of time on social media. So it's not necessarily a monetary budget, but it's more, you know, time-based.
It's very interesting. I'm not going to ask you why your Instagram was shut down, but I'm sure it's due to popularity. Ravi, this leads me very nicely from what Manisha has just said, that is there a method to selecting social media platforms depending on the type of product or service that you have? And I know we've covered this slightly already, this discussion. I'd like to go deeper into it and look at your insights, all four of you, about selecting the right social media platform to go on to get the best out of it for my business.
Sure. So there's no dead science to it, but you can kind of know who your customer base is and where they are spending their social time. So, for example, fashion and beauty, a lot of that is going to be on Instagram. Business to business services like maybe construction, things like that, are going to be on LinkedIn. Things that people are wanting to find out about, professional services, again, are going to be on LinkedIn. You may get things like insurance companies, banks on all platforms because they're targeting young to old, different types of clients with different types of lifestyles. But all depends on the type of business and what you want to sell and what your end goal is.
Nicola, since you are a B2B expert yourself through the experience that you have and the business that you run, you have special skills where you focus around B2B and make sure that people are on the right platforms at the right times. Can you give us your insight on this, please?
I mean, with LinkedIn, that's clearly the principal business-to-business platform, and it has two purposes. One is reaching your end customers, but also reaching out to your referrers. So in the financial arena, it's a real good network. So actually knowing people who are co-professionals who you can work alongside and share clients with is really important. So making that clear on LinkedIn is a really good way of doing it. And you can do that through increasing your connections and then making sure that you're posting information which is helpful to your co-professionals so that they can represent you to their clients. So it's therefore you're sharing, it's always a sharing thing. The other area for B2B, which is a really big one and a very important one, is anybody who's working in a visual environment, in a B2B environment, would be on Instagram. So architects, for example, will be more typically on Instagram because it's a visual experience. That being said, LinkedIn is really catching up. I mean, it's always playing catch up, to be honest with you. It's a little bit behind the curve in this respect, but video live streaming is now available on LinkedIn, and that really engages. So what you use to demonstrate your post, to bring it to life, becomes very important because there's an awful lot of stuff going on. How do you stand out from the crowd? And the way you stand out from the crowd is really insightful video. Live streaming is really important, but if you're using a photo, make it engaging. Try to avoid the static Shutterstock image of a calculator if you're an accountant. It's just not going to kind of work. What you're wanting to do is to make create empathy with your end clients if they're business people. So show pictures of business people, not the tools of your trade.
I noticed that LinkedIn has been mentioned in our conversation by Ravi and yourself, Nicola, but with 2.41 billion users on Facebook daily, is Facebook not a good platform to be on?
Absolutely, but it's just the correct platform for the certain sorts of services. So it does work really well for smaller businesses reaching their consumers, typically. Less so for business-to-business interactions, although in America, if you're global, that's a different situation. We're talking about the GB here. As soon as you're into America, then it's fine for business-to-business. So again, it's research. Find out what works for your particular target audience. So Facebook, fantastic for smaller businesses who are reaching out to consumers. Very, very good platform. And very good for advertising frequently if you've got particular products and services. And the great thing about Facebook advertising is it's easy to measure the return on investment.
Welcome to iGlobal. Sorry, go ahead, go on.
I was just going to add as well that one thing to remember with social media platforms is it's not just about posting or about stories. There's so much more that these social media platforms offer. So Facebook being the perfect example, you can have a page, you can have your own profile, but you can also create groups. So if you're about community, so even in B2B, if you wanted to create a community of legal professionals to come together and network, you can actually do that. You can actually be the person or the company that brings these groups of people together. And I know, Manisha, you've done that really, really well. I've done that really, really successfully. So I've actually got a marketing group in Facebook where I bring marketing professionals together, or anyone that wants to know about marketing. So it's not just posting, but it's knowing how to use that social media platform to really to your advantage and to your company's advantage.
If you have just joined us, welcome to iGlobal. This is the Great Big Indian Money Show. And today we are talking about social media for growing your business. And I'm Tony Patty, and I'm joined today by Nicola Ryle. I'm also joined by Ravi Patel. I'm joined also by Manisha. Hang on. I'm joined also by Manisha Shah and also Gurjinder Bogle as well. Gurjinder, throwing a question your way, in terms of doing the right thing, creating the right campaign, building one's brand and posting it on social media, how clear must the message be? Is it all about your company logo? Does it speak volumes about you, or doesn't it? And how important is that?
Do you know what, I'm really glad you asked me this question, because there's actually two areas you need to look at. You need to look at your brand, and you need to look at your brand personality. And I'll give you myself as the perfect example. When I launched my Instagram about a year ago, it was my brand. It was Black Mamba Marketing and Events, which meant nothing to nobody anywhere. And I had mediocre success. I got a few customers through Instagram, but it really wasn't doing anything. So what I'd done, I converted my brand, which was Black Mamba Marketing and Events, into my brand personality, which is the Marketing Mummy. And I changed my Instagram and all my social media to the Marketing Mummy. That hit off because that was my brand personality. I'm a mummy that does marketing, and that appealed to my ideal client massively. So it's really identifying what appeals to people. Is it your brand, or is it your brand personality? And making that simple switch in your content, in your social media, in how you present yourself, how you show up, can be all the difference. And going on Nicola's point, if you're an architect and you're called Architect A to Z, that might not mean anything to anybody. But if you're an architect that loves food and you call yourself the foodie architect, you're going to start showing your personality in your brand. And by way of engaging with your customers through maybe food, you're going to start sharing your architect tips, and you'll start getting the customers in. So it's really about identifying what's going to work with your customers more. Is it your brand, or is it your brand personality?
Ravi, how do we go about formatting the actual content to optimize each platform that we choose to go on, be it Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram? How do we go about conceptualizing and optimizing that particular content that we're going to be putting up?
So content is key, and how you display it. If it's a graphical post or it's a video post, video has become the medium of choice. People watch more than they read now. So lots of people are creating small videos for posting purposes. The content that you produce is key to the success of your campaign and the message you give. And again, it's targeted. We've spoken about it on nearly every topic. It's about what you want to achieve at the end. Your content will give the message that you want to get the return on. So whether it's new business, whether it's engagement into your channels, whether it's increasing your followers, whether it's telling them your story, or making them buy into your brand or your brand personality. There's many different things. The key is strategy. In every aspect of the marketing on social media is the strategy. Knowing what you want to do, and then you can create the content around it. And then finding good agencies, because creating content yourself is good. But if you're a business and you need to create infographics, you need to create videos, you need to create graphics, you can't do those very well unless you're an expert, in my opinion.
Nicola, with your experience of marketing and sales, in particular companies like Coca-Cola, American Express, the brand really speaks out. It speaks volumes, the colors, the logos that they use. So as Robbie said, concentrate hard on formatting the actual product, even the logo, if you like, as you've done with the likes of Coca-Cola and American Express and other companies that you've had the privilege and honor of working with. So tell us about what your take on this is, and in terms of creating the right visual impact for my brand, what is the best strategy for me to use?
Thank you for asking that, Tony. That was a very insightful question. Colour and fonts and all of those other bits and pieces which go into making a visual identity for a client is really important, and it's more than just the logo. I think a lot of people think that branding is just the logo. It isn't. It's the whole story which goes behind it, and making sure that they're congruent with one another is really important. So for example, if you say you're a fast-moving cutting edge tech company, then using racing green and gold as your colors and Times Roman is just not going to work. You get a clash between the two things. So trying to get all of those elements correct, and then adding on your style of speech, the way you interact on social media, where and how you use that branding becomes critical. And it's something which is very technical, and people think it's very easy. And it is one area where I would say get a brand expert if you need help getting going, and don't use your cousin 3 times removed to get because they've done A-level art to do it for you. That really won't work. The other thing that I see all of the time, which will make everybody laugh, is that a lot of chaps use the colour of their football team as their brand identity, and really, honestly, that isn't great. You've got to use the colours which work for your particular industry, your particular sector. You know, if you're in beauty, you want the softer colours typically.
When it actually comes to the content of the campaign, and again, I'm going to throw this out to any one of you, all 4 of you. Should I be creating a 10-second message, 20-second, 30-second, 40 or 50 or 60-second message for the content that I'm going to be putting up on social media? Because that's what's going to capture the audience. That's what's going to get the focus onto my brand and my business. What should the content be, and what is the hook? How should I be going about that? Any one of you?
I think the shorter, if it's a video message or a video reel, I think maximum 20 to 30 seconds or something that's coming up in the feed, but very creative. It can't be someone in front of the camera talking. It has to be so engaging. It has to be, when I've seen it, I want to talk about it. I'm going to tell people I've seen it. So, you know, some snappy graphics, well done, you know, great soundtrack to it, good production. You know, it can be short, it can be long, but it has to have good production that it stays in your mind. That's the thing with content. If you remember it, you'll talk about it, or you'll go and visit it another time.
Research shows that the first 2 seconds is key. You have a huge drop off after the second, if you see what I mean. So you've got just those first 2 seconds. So don't put your logo up for the first 2 seconds because you've lost everybody. And that's a real classic novice's mistake, to be honest with you. So you get the real grab them by the throat kind of conversation in those first 2 or 3 seconds. And then if what you're saying is interesting, they'll stay with you through to the end of your video, but you've only got that very, very short bit. And the other thing that's really important to remember with video is that 85% of videos are watched silent. And it's really important that some of that engagement, particularly in the business to business world, you put captions, because nobody wants to be watching something on their social media stream in the office when it blasts out. That's really embarrassing. And I know that lots of people now wear headphones all the time, but that's definitely not the case. So put captions on your video to engage as well and reinforce.
And I think
go on, Manisha.
In 2020, there was a big surge in people consuming short form content more so than anything else, with the popularity of TikTok coming about. So people are now, you know, their attention spans are dwindling. So having that short form 15-second, 30-second video is and capturing people's attention, like Nicola said, within the first couple of seconds is really, really important. Otherwise, people will just click away.
Is this where we need, and I know we're coming towards the end of our session here today, so we can edit this out, but this is quite an important question. Is this where we need a proper script writer, a content director to show us and to teach us what to do, or even produce it for us? How important is that?
I think it's not important to employ someone to do it, but one thing you need to think about, and one thing I get a lot of my customers to think about, is their elevator pitch. How can you grab somebody's attention in those first 30 seconds? And all your marketing, all your copy, everything you say has to be super, super succinct. So I think with a lot of what we are all doing here in our answers, we're being really succinct in how we answer the questions that we're given, because that is what makes the impact. So the waffle is irrelevant. It's the impact that you need to make with being super succinct.
Plan is the best thing here. And I would say that people are much more tolerant of less high tech production now, and they actually quite like the feeling that they're speaking to the real human being. So it not being high tech doesn't necessarily matter. What's really important is to get good quality content and right from the off. So think about what you're going to say and re-record it several times until you've made sure that those first 3 seconds are fantastic. And there are pieces of software out there to help you do the editing, but again, you can use some friends and family to help you edit it, but get some advice from your consumers, some tame clients, ask them whether that's good enough. Get that feedback. I think it very much depends on the audience you're speaking to as to how professional it needs to be. But very frequently, too professional puts people off. They think that they're going to be conned. So making it real and a little bit amateurish is not necessarily a problem. But what you have got to do is to get the message across very succinctly.
Nicola Ryle, you are the director at Ryle Marketing. Ravi Patel, company director at Ravi Patel, you are the Ravi Patel, company director at Vital Concept Limited. Manisha Shah, social media and content strategy at Manisha Coaching Limited. And Gurjinder Bogle, director at Black Mamba Marketing and Events. I thank you all for your kind time and sharing your insights and expertise with us here today on this particular program, and looking forward to speaking with you once again, hopefully very soon.